Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Our Home Ground, where the women's game feels personal and powerful. I'm so excited to be back for another episode. If you're like watching, then you'll notice the lighting's kind of weird, but it is 6:53 in the morning. I am recording before work on Tuesday, the 28th of October. My life has been so busy this past week. I was in Portland for a work conference this past like half of the week and weekend, and then I got home on Sunday night, and then yesterday I was just too exhausted with my like real life job that actually pays the bills. Shockingly, this is not paying any bills, but I was just excited about it and I thought about skipping this week, but I just didn't want to. And so here we are recording it before work in the morning. And I will also bring to your attention that I went to the sports bra while I was in Portland, the first ever women's sports bar, and I got myself a little mug. And so I'm drinking coffee out of that mug this morning and I'm very, very excited about it. And it just feels right for this podcast. So today's episode is going to be super random. It is international break in the women's soccer world. And so, yes, I've been watching a lot of soccer. Also, yes, my life has been very busy. And I have a fun episode planned with Allison where we're going to really talk about the US women's national team and a bunch of stuff going on there. So I didn't really want to talk about that today. So instead, today we're going to talk about this ongoing list I have in my phone that I've started from the beginning of this international window just called Magic Moments. And it's literally just things that I've seen really on social media. I guess some of them also like from watching the games on the like broadcast or whatever that I just love everything about. And so they're super random. They are literally I didn't organize this in any sort of like theme. So I'm going to be jumping all over the place and that's just how it's going to be today, but it's just the order of which I saw things and wrote them down. And so you also get a little bit of peek into my brain and what's going on. So without further ado, let's just get into it. So the first thing that I want to talk about is actually not that happy, but it ended up there was a really beautiful thing that like came out of it. So Olivia Smith plays for Canada. They played Switzerland in the first game of this international window, and Olivia Smith went down with what we now know as a hip injury. She's back at Arsenal for what they say assessment and treatment or something. But we all know our Swiss captain is none other than Leah Valti, who is an Arsenal legend and has been at Arsenal, had been at Arsenal for a very long time. She now plays at Juventus, but she's captain of Switzerland. And when Olivia Smith went down, Wally went over and like stayed with her the whole time because they had a little bit of a crossover at Arsenal because Olivia Smith was there before Wally left to go to Juve. So that was really sweet. And I think just speaks to the Wally that we always have known that she is. And it was just a really, really sweet moment. And I saw a lot of it online of being like, she's still Arsenal. Like, I don't know if that's true. I think Wally's just an incredibly good person and knew this player, and she's young. I believe Olivia Smith's only 20, like maybe 21 now. But it was just a very, very sweet moment that made my heart happy in what was like a very not happy situation. So wishing Olivia Smith all the best, hoping that the recovery is quick, both for her sake and for Arsenal's and Canada's, I guess, for that matter. So there was that. The other potentially my most favorite thing that happened, at least in the first games of England's international window, is Ella Tooney walking out with Arlo, her soon-to-be stepson, as her mascot. That was the cutest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. He is so darling. And Joe Bunny, which is Ella Toon's fiance, posted a whole like feed post with multiple pictures and videos of Arlo's day, like with the girls getting to be a mascot. And it was just the sweetest thing I've ever seen. He was so like earnestly excited. And he's a little like blondie. And they had, of course, he was in like the full England kit and it was just so sweet. There's videos of him like seeing Tooney on the pitch during the like pitch inspection before she was warming up, and he like ran over and she like gave him a big hug, and he saw Alessia and she was smiling really big because obviously Tooney and Les are best friends. And then there's also the video, I guess it was technically before that, but the video of the like players arriving, I think is what it was. And several of them stopped to like say hi to Arlo because they know him from the Euros and just him like being around. And Lucy Bronze stopped and like talked to him and gave him like a high five. And then she was seemed to be indicating like a bigger one. And then he like jumped up to give her a high five and somehow like ended up on the floor. And it was just really cute and really sweet. And so that whole thing I just think is amazing. Like, imagine your like soon to be stepmom is Ella Toon. Like, hello. So all of your new like aunties are the lionesses. Like, obviously Joe and Ella have been together for quite a while, so Arlo's been around, but it was just really, really sweet and really special. And those moments, like for Toonie as well, are really special to get to have that. Lots of people talk about how cool it is to have like their kids be their mascots. And yes, I acknowledge she did not birth Arlo, but she is certainly taking on like a mother figure for him as she marries his dad. And so it was just very, very sweet. And I am obsessed with it. Another thing that happened this international window is Jess Fishlock played her last game for Wales. They played at home against Australia, and that was her last game for them, which I think is great that she like announced that she is retiring from international football and played one last game so that the fans could be there to celebrate her. Her teammates could celebrate her in that way. I think as a fan, I really love being able to do that for players. I also understand that that's not always possible for people. And so I just that happened. But what I really loved about it was all of the celebrations that happened. There was a really, really cute moment with her and Steph Catley. They played together at the Melbourne Victory and then again at Seattle Reign. And they like swapped shirts at the end of the game, which was really, really sweet. And then she did the post-game press conference. Lots of people had lots of questions for her. And then her whole team crashed the press conference and sang around her. Fish Locks on Fire to Freed from Desire. If you're familiar with the women's football space at all, that song is huge. And they sang Fish Locks on Fire and she was like emotional about it and then was like celebrating with her. I was like, na, 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 na. And it was just really, really sweet. And I love that she's like getting her flowers and getting celebrated in those kinds of meaningful ways. And so, big props to her. Very, very exciting. Another thing that I thought was just magic, which turned out to like not necessarily be true, but Katie McCabe's performance against who are they playing? Belgium, I think. They're in a playoff to try to get like in Nations League promoted. They like won their group in the B and they're trying to get promoted to A, so they're in a playoff against Belgium. And they played at home the first leg and they won 4-2. And originally it went down as a Katie McCabe hat trick, which she hasn't scored a goal since like, I don't know, April or something. I feel like she used to score March, maybe. She used to score a lot of goals, and then they've kind of changed the way that she's been playing for Arsenal, and she's been playing deeper with Ireland as well. And so it was one of her goals was taken back and put in as like an own goal. I didn't actually watch that game. I was at a work conference, but just like seeing her passion for playing for Ireland and how excited she was and how meaningful it was for her and her team for her to be like performing in that way. She's the captain. It was just lovely. All of her celebrations were so, so fun. And paired with that, us, the Australia girls. Obviously, her girlfriend is Caitlin Ford, but then Mackenzie Arnold and Alana Kennedy, like putting on their Snapchat that they were watching Katie and like being so excited for her. I love that kind of like camaraderie in the game. And so, yeah, big up to Katie McCabe and her performance for Ireland because that was super cool. A silly one that I want to talk about next is Alexia Putellas's Instagram post. So Spain is playing Sweden in the semifinal of the Nations League. This window, it's a two-leg thing, and they played in Spain first, and Alexia Putellas had a free kick goal that was just like insanely gorgeous. But there's this picture of her like right after or as she was taking it, maybe right after she took it, and her body is like curved in this kind of like I don't know, like C-ish shape to get the angle and whatever spin situation that she needed for this ball to go in the like freaking upper corner. It was so so gorgeous. If you haven't watched it or haven't seen the highlights, like go back and do that for yourself. But she posted like a Instagram dump from that game and she posted like that picture of her and everybody like knew what happened. It has the wall jumping and the ball like going. Sick picture. Her body is like curved. Then the very last picture in the dump is the like cat in the snow meme with like body like curved. And it's just so funny to me to think of like Alexia Putellas, this like world class footballer, like in the conversation for greatest of all time, like genuinely to be posting like something silly like that. Like it just is so fun to get to see them be a little silly too. Because at the end of the day, we're all just girls out here, aren't we? Which just sometimes feels so bizarre to say about them, but we're all humans. We're all out here having fun. And so I just loved that. I thought it was so silly and just like good for her. It was what I wanted it to be. And I didn't even know that I wanted it to be that. And so if you haven't seen it, go look at it because it's silly and goofy. And I think we need more silliness and more goofiness in the world right now. So there's that. Next thing that I want to talk about is still with the Sweden and Spain situation, the game situation. It was a game. So Aitana Bonmati won the Ballon d'Or. This is the first international window since the Ballon d'Or ceremony. So they did honor her, which I think is lovely. I think lots of people can have lots of opinions about whether Aitana should have won it or not. I think that's a whole different conversation that I'm not really getting into right now. But before the game, Fridolina Rolfo, who plays for Sweden, they like had the Ballon d'Or on this sort of like pedestal thing. And Frido went over and like got it and presented it to Aita. And they're really, really good friends. They were really close when Frido was playing at Barcelona. She is now at Manchester United, so they don't get to see each other very often. So there was a really cute reunion of them earlier on the pitch, and then she got to present her with the Ballon d'Or again. I mean, she's had it, but it was very sweet, and they like had a big hug, and it was just very, very cute to be able to celebrate Aitana in that way, and for one of her really good friends to be giving it to her was just lovely and very, very honorable for Sweden to be doing that. They didn't have to do that. She could have had a different Spanish player, or they could have done some sort of like Spanish person giving it to her, but they had Sweden do it. And so I don't know how those things get decided, but I thought it was very, very cute. And they both like posted on their Instagram story about it and how much they love each other. And it was just very cute, and I very much liked it. So there's that. Transitioning a little bit to some U.S. Women's National Team. Well, they're going to get sprinkled in here. This is U.S. Women's National Team one. Alex Morgan was celebrated. The U.S. Women's National Team was playing 3 games this window. They like squeezed them all in. They played on Thursday, Sunday, and then they play again on, I think, Wednesday. So they're playing like more of an Olympic style. I don't actually know if that's true. They're playing a lot of games in a short period of time, like they do at the Olympics, is what I was trying to say. But, anyways, so on Thursday, they honored Alex Morgan's retirement before the game. I think she ended up with like 224 caps. She has now retired. She has a family. She's thriving. But what I loved was that Trinity Rodman and Kelly O'Hara were both at the retirement game. Abby Wambach was also there, and it was just so sweet to see these players celebrating Alex in that way, because Alex kind of spans generations. She came in like I think 2011 was her first World Cup. I don't know when she actually had her debut. I want to say it was like 2008, but I might be making that up, but she has played with the national team until like 2024. So she kind of spans the like end of the Abby Wambach generation. And then she was on the 15 and 19 World Cup teams that won. And then she was even there for like the 23 World Cup where they didn't, right? Like, so she's kind of seen it all. And so obviously Abby Wambach from the earlier generation was there. Kelly O'Hara, kind of similarly aged to her, really in it with her, was there. Then Trinity Rodman, who is clearly still in the national team. I think she's only like 22, maybe 23. I don't actually know. I feel like Trinity's been around for so long that I'm assuming she's older than she is. But this sort of like new generation, Trinity is out with an MCL sprain right now, so she wasn't with the team, but she still traveled to New Jersey to celebrate Alex Morgan, and I just thought it was very, very sweet. And they posted a lot of pictures together, and it was just so lovely. And Trinity shared like a funny story of Alex taking going shopping like with Alex at the World Cup in 2023, and how they like walked into a jewelry store, and like Alex and Kelly, who are like making significantly more money than Trinity at the time, were like buying jewelry, and Trinity was like, "Oh, I think I'm just here to hang out. Like, I can't afford this stuff yet, which is just very sweet. And so funny. And she was like, and Alex was so nice about it, but like we just were not in the same tax bracket, like at all. And she's like, and that was fine. It was so nice for her to even invite me to like go with them. So that was very sweet. We did have a bit of history that happened this international window that I'm very, very, very excited about. Kiara Keating made her debut, senior debut for the Lionesses, making her the first Black goalkeeper for the Lionesses. And I think that's so incredible. I'm so excited for her. She got to do it at the Etihad. I think that's how you say that. I don't actually even know, which is Man City's home stadium, their big stadium, and she plays for Man City. It's her childhood club. And so she got to make her senior Lionesses debut at home, first Black goalkeeper, which is just incredible and in itself a magic moment. And then I thought it was really cool because Jess Carter shared about it on her Instagram. Lots of people shared about it on their Instagram story, but Jess Carter's like really made me like tear up, honestly. She said something to the effect of like, you were the first, but now so many other little girls can dream of doing that. Speaking to this sort of like representation and how important it is to have this representation. And I thought that was really powerful, especially considering the summer that Jess Carter had and some of the online racial abuse that she received. And so just seeing them stick together and support each other in that way was really sweet. And what an accomplishment for Kiara Keating. There are so many forces at play that or making it difficult for her to be the first. And it's really exciting that, she is the first, hopefully not the last. And so just very, very cool bit of history that happened there. Another cute thing that happened with the Lionesses is this photo that I saw online. I don't know if Lucy posted it or where it came from, but there's this picture of her playing with her niece, probably after the game, I would say. And she was like under a table and her niece is like running away and she has like grabbed her ankle. And it's again just so fun and cute to see these players like personality with their families, just like doing the things that they love. Like she's very outspoken about how much she loves spending time with her niece and nephew and how close her family is. And so that picture is just one of the like sweetest little things I've ever seen in my life. So there's that. Another US Women's National Team thing that was really, really cool. They played in like East Hartford, Connecticut on Sunday, and Allie Sentnor and Lily Reel both started that game. They're both newer on the national team. Allie Sentnor is 19. I don't actually know how old Lily Reel is, but gotta be similarly aged because there was a photo of them from the last time the US Women's National Team played in Connecticut. I think they were in East Hartford. I could be wrong about that. But the last time they played, Lily and Allie were there as like little kids supporting the team. Allie Sentnor was in her Alex Morgan jersey. Like it's just so sweet. And to see this sort of like full circle moment for them where they are now both like they started that game. They are not starters on the national team, but they did start on Sunday. And so just to have them be like now on the national team or at least getting invited to the senior national team and to just have that paired with this like photo of them as fans as little girls is just the cutest thing ever. And it's so funny. Allie Sentnor was like asked about it before the game and she was like, "Yeah, I was so young and so little. I was just like a little girl." And Julie Foudy was like, "Well, when was that?" And she was like 2018. And I was like, "Okay, well that feels like about 5 minutes ago." But she is so young, and that was like 7 years ago. So if she's only 19, right, and it's 7 years, that makes her like 12. Like she was a little girl. So that is like a very cute and very sweet thing. This next thing is in the media, and I just love every moment of it. So if you guys don't know who Coach Jackie is, that's sad for you. She is a social media online personality. Is that what we're calling them? I feel like that's what we used to call people in like main media, like their media personalities. I don't know if that's what we call them. She is somebody who covers women's sports on social media in like a really fun way. She does the series of like, is she gay or is she just, and then like fill in something. So she did it with like, is she gay or is she just a women's college basketball coach? Is she gay or does she just play rugby? Like those kinds of things. It's so funny. Is she gay or is she just in the WNBA? These things are so funny, and I love every moment of it. And they're very respectful and also silly. And she also covers women's sports in all kinds of different ways, but that's like how I found Coach Jackie. But she was invited. Becky Sauerbrunn has a new podcast in which she's talking to people like in and around soccer. So she's interviewing, I don't, not players so much as, at least so far, it hasn't been players. Maybe some of them have retired, but it's people who are like covering soccer in sort of other ways. And I would just suggest you go listen to the pod if you want the actual, like, sort of like picture of what she's doing, but that's how I'm understanding it to be. Drops on Mondays. It's in the women's game universe. So that's very exciting. But she had Coach Jackie on her podcast, and Becky asked her about something she had said on social media about like seeing Abby Wambach score in the like 2011 World Cup was a really, really important moment for her because it was at a point in her life where she was sort of like figuring out that like she was different and probably gay, but wasn't sure what that looked like or what that like meant for her or what place she would have in the world kind of thing, kind of vibe. And she was talking about how like seeing someone like Abby with like short hair, openly gay, like all of these things, how that made her believe that those things were possible for herself as well. And of course, she didn't go on to be like a professional soccer player, but just to even like know that that was a possibility was really, really important to her. And so they like had that conversation. It got clipped and put on social media as a promo for the pod. And then Abby Wambach commented on it and was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so amazing. Like Coach Jackie is somewhere I go to see women's sports get covered. And so to like hear this conversation is just so lovely." So that was really, really sweet. And then Coach Jackie posted a video on her TikTok and I'm assuming Instagram as well, and she was like, guys, this is my like I've made it moment. She talked about how being on Becky's podcast was so cool in and of itself. The fact that like the captain of the team that she has been so obsessed with, Becky Sauerbrunn, was the US women's national team coach, US women's national team captain for a very long time, especially in the era that Coach Jackie was like really watching and like really first got into it. And so the fact that she was like on that podcast was cool enough. And then to see Abby Wambach say that Coach Jackie is somewhere that she goes to see women's sports stories was just really, really sweet. And so, would highly suggest you go check out all of that. I haven't had the opportunity to listen to Coach Jackie on Becky's podcast yet, but I really, really want to because I'm sure it was a great interview. Coach Jackie talked about how like respectful Becky was and how much research she had done and how much she knew about how much Becky knew about Coach Jackie and how cool that was. And she never felt that way. And so it was just this like very, very heartwarming situation that I'm just so in love with. I just think it's so fun to see people like, I don't know, have their full circle moment, achieve their dreams. Like it's just a dream that like she never would have even thought of having, I think. And so it's just very, very, very exciting. Another thing that I want to talk about is the Alyssa Nair of it all. So on Sunday at the U.S. Women's National Team game, they celebrated Alyssa Nair's retirement. She had over 100 caps, 112 or something, which is like third most for goalkeeper of all time for the U.S. Women's National Team. Very, very exciting. And they celebrated it in Connecticut. That is where Alyssa is from. And so it was just so cool. She said she had like 70 plus family members, friends, and family members who were there to celebrate her. I'm not sure if that includes basically her entire Chicago Stars team who traveled to Connecticut to celebrate her. I have like chills thinking about that because Chicago is not traditionally like the best team. They have not been dominating the NWSL for the past several years. They've been really struggling. But to see them all, clearly they have a very, very close bond because they all traveled to Connecticut and they're all wearing like Alyssa Nair shirts and just like celebrating her so big. And Alyssa Nair is somebody who deserves to be celebrated so big and also I'm sure was so uncomfortable with it just based on like how everybody was talking about it. They're like the girl who deserves to be celebrated the most and also hates being celebrated the most. But it looks like they really, really made it special for her. And so I just think that's awesome. And I think good on Chicago and those girls for traveling. I think it's awesome. So very, very happy about that. The last sort of like magic moment I wanted to talk about is Sam Coffey trolling Emma Hayes on her Instagram stories. They went to a Kansas City Chiefs game. Kansas City was playing Monday Night Football at home, and the U.S. women's national team is playing there on, I believe, Wednesday. And so they were invited to the game on Monday, and Sam Coffey took a video of Emma Hayes like trying to take a picture of Patrick Mahomes and like zooming in super far and like trying to take this photo. And then she posted on the next slide a photo of Emma Hayes' screen in the picture that she got, and it's so bad and it's so funny. And Sam just like trolling her about it was lovely. I thought it was so funny. And just seeing them like really get to know Emma Hayes and seeing this sort of like team cohesion that's happening around her as the head coach. She's been there now almost a year. Oh my God, it feels like she's been here way longer than that. She's been here over a year. She came in November of 23. What? When did she come in? Anyways, my brain just broke for a second. She came in no, the end of May of 2024. She was offered the job in November of 23, but she came in like May or June of 24 and then immediately went to the Olympics. So yeah, she's been there a year and a half. We got there. We did the math in the brain. It's early. So yeah, that I just thought was so funny and so silly just to like see because we hear a lot about the relationship that Emma Hayes has had with like her players at Chelsea and stuff like that. And so to start to see her develop those bonds with the players on the US women's national team too is really, really fun and exciting. And I believe part of the magic of Emma Hayes. And so that was just so funny to me. And so there we go. Those are the magic moments. There is one other thing that I want to just touch on really quickly that I saw yesterday on the internet that's not magical or happy at all. But I do feel like I want to address. There was a player who plays for Angel City who posted this crazy thing on the internet on Twitter of all places, and it's like this long like multi-paragraph thing that is transphobic, and if you're reading it I think in the way that she intended it, also racist, less overtly racist, super overtly transphobic, but very like dog whistly racist because she was talking about like keeping the NWSL, the W stands for women, and oh my God, it was so annoying. um, and just so transphobic. And I just want to be very, very, very clear that in this community, trans women are women, trans men are men, trans women belong in sport. I am an avid, avid supporter of that. I think this rhetoric, this transphobic rhetoric is disgusting. It needs to go. And I will be following the lead of people like Kirsten Kasperai, who are super outspoken about it. There are many other players as well who I just don't have on the top of my head, but absolutely not. I will not be giving any time or space for anybody who is gonna be transphobic, and it's got to go. It's an absolutely not for me. The NWSL is built on inclusivity, and so for her to go say those crazy things. And the craziest part of it all is she and I have the same number of professional minutes played this year, which is 0. And so to like sit on the bench and then for you to come out with this like crazy thing on a team like Angel City too, which has built its brand on being inclusive and celebrating a diverse community, and it's actually insane and it's disgusting, and she's got to go. It's an absolutely not for me. So I just want to be clear. This space will always be supportive of our trans folks. There is room for you here. There will always be room for you here. And know that I see you and I love you, and I want you to have all of the good and the wonderful in the world. And I want all the people who don't want that for you to have all of the bad and the awful in the world. So hate to end on that note because I hate that we're continuing to have this conversation, but I will continue having it as long as necessary because it's something that I feel very, very passionately about. I play in a women's and non-binary league 2 nights a week here in Atlanta, and it is the best thing that I've ever done, and I'm obsessed with it and obsessed with all of my trans and non-binary friends that play in that league. it is one of the most beautiful spaces I have ever been a part of. And for anybody to think anything differently, clearly they don't know any trans folks because they're the best people in the world. And so I will do whatever I can to continue to create spaces and make space and protect spaces for our trans folks. So, all of that to say, that's our episode this week. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you found some of these little magic moments. What did I miss? And what should I talk about next time in some of these magic moments? Let me know. But hope everybody has a great rest of their week, and we'll see you next time.